Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday night chat. There's only three of us here tonight, but that's okay. We'll make the best of it. I hadn't heard from Matt or any other guests, but we'll make do. And and as long as we got three of us here, it's the chat. So. I'm going to go ahead and let Rosie and Rick do an intro, and I'm going to start with Rick. Would you like to do an introduction?
Sure, why not? Hey, everybody. Welcome back to TR's show, The Bull Ring. Thanks for joining us. And my channel, if you're not familiar with it, is basically prepping, guns, shooting. A lot of it's been shooting lately. I've been trying to get better and more proficient. And just learning from a good person by the name of Ray Helms, and every day I try to do a little bit better, get a little bit better. So that's me. Come check out the channel and come visit.
I hit the wrong button, sorry. Rosie, would you like to do an intro?
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here another Tuesday night on the Bull Ring with TR and Rick. And Rosie O'Kelly channel and Rosie Murphy channel. The Rosie Murphy channel tends to be more eco-investment update on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, events dictating. And the Rosie O'Kelly channel tends to be more freewheeling. I'm just finishing up the winter season now and have a lot of restoration projects I've been engaged in audio and vintage audio restorations and getting ready to cut over to metal detecting and out to the gun range again. So check it out. It's a variety channel, and I love coming on Tuesday nights and running my flapper. So let's do it.
Got a little bit of a static there, Rosie. Just want to go ahead and warn you.
Yeah. Okay.
And if y'all didn't catch that, where she gives a lot of financial advice is on Rosie Murphy channel. I actually put links in the description to everybody that's, the normal guest is here. Sometimes there's different guests, but that link's in there. So if anybody wants to find Rosie or Rick, it is in the description. All right. How's it going now, Rosie?
Nope. I think it's when she mutes her thing for the first time every time, or for the most part.
Test.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple of high speeds, 2 high speeds, and 4 normal speed USB ports here. So I got to remember to hit the high speed port on that. So, yep, I'm gargling. So glad to be here on Tuesday night, and y'all know me.
All right. Well, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but would you like to do your normal economic forecast or assessment of what's going on right now?
Sure. It's certainly very interesting right now. It's not exactly topically interesting unless you're kind of a economics egghead, but we could be reaching some type of crossover point here in the economy. I mean, I've never seen so many diverse and strong cross currents that we have now, just sweeping not only our nation and the world, and it just goes to show you that news in the world tends to follow markets. It's not the other way around. In other words, back in January and February, when things looked pretty dire and it looked like the bottom was dropping out, the news cycle came out and sort of reinforced that assessment of, China. The bottom's coming out of China, and certainly I spoke at length about the inability of, not so much the economy, but the inability of the Chinese to properly measure and even understand what's going on in their hugely diverse economy. Well, you can put that in counterpoint to today, where we are at a point where we've had this tremendous bounce back in the markets. We still haven't achieved new all-time highs, but we've had this strong bounce back, and now we're getting the reinforcing news from underneath that. So this is a good this is a good casebook study of why you never really want to follow the news when it comes to making economic decisions. You really have to be ahead of it. You have to be a really independent thinker. And so we have this point now where we're seeing this strange sort of rise in gold and silver. And although they're not going gangbusters, they're certainly holding their ground. And the oil markets have come back. We're about $41 a barrel off of a low of 26. And you know, there's even talk of creeping inflation now within the economy. And why wouldn't there be, measured month over month if you have crude oil go from $26 to $28 a barrel up to $41 a barrel? That's a pretty big jump, and we're seeing that in the retail side of things too. But then you have to contrast that with the slowing demand for our exports and worldwide demand for products. Alcoa Aluminum reported today, and Alcoa has traditionally been one of the largest aluminum companies in the world, and they produce so much aluminum for the aircraft industry and the defense industry, and of course a lot for everything from cans. They're a huge manufacturer, and their revenues declining again year over year, and their earnings, although they slightly beat for the quarter announced today, they're under pressure. They're under a lot of pressure, and they're threatening to lay off 2,000 people. Now these are kind of good paying jobs and things. I mean, open your eyes and understand some of the things that you know, some of these strange trends. On one hand, we have you know, a Federal Reserve that seems inclined to want to raise interest rates here, and we're getting sporadically good economic reports like unemployment and things like that. But there's some, I don't know what I would want to say. I don't want to call it a house of cards economy, but sometimes I kind of get the idea that we're not on as firm a foundation as we should be here. But in the face of that, I still have to be kind of crazy and say, you know what, the bubble continues. The bubble continues to build here, regardless. So the last time I was on, I talked about if you're a person that's risk averse and you don't enjoy risk, this could be a good time when you've basically made up everything in the way of losses over the last 5 months, and now you could be sitting even or even slightly up if you're in technology and things. It may not be a bad time to take some chips off the table or shift it into some diversified things away from equities, short-term very short-term bonds and things of that nature, because I think the Fed is going to be raising interest rates again, rightly or wrongly. I think they're inclined to do that. So you may want to take that as a kind of a clue that may be time to move a few chips off the table. So whereas a couple weeks ago I thought that the driver of metals could be financial instability, it now could very well be this stagflation scenario that unfolds in the U.S., where we have very slow to no economic growth. I think the first quarter may actually show a contraction of growth in the country, and yet we have inflation showing up. And I want to kind of poll you guys, because you're consumers of things. You know, TR, you're out there buying your own provisions for your house and stuff, and you know, I'm sure, Rick, you talk to your wife and things, but what is the sense of pricing in the world today when it comes to buying things? We went through that phenomenon in the early 2000s where, you know, you no longer had a 5-pound bag of sugar. It became a 4-pound bag of sugar for the same price as a 5-pound used to be. Or the half a gallon of ice cream is no longer a half a gallon of ice cream anymore. It's like, you know, it's like 1.5 quarts or something like that. What is your sense of the pricing in say South Carolina and North Carolina?
Oh, you definitely see that. There's no doubt. especially in the last few years where I've been paying attention. Like you said, something that used to be a pound is now 12 ounces. So instead of 16 ounces, it's 12 ounces. The price might have stayed close to the same, but you're getting less. And being that I pay more attention to prices now, I see that more and more. Um, for the most part, it's already happened in the last couple of years, so it's probably kind of leveled off. But that don't mean it's going to get worse, you know. So I don't know, Rick.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think you're right about that. You know, it's almost a way to trick people into thinking that they're not so much getting a better deal, but the cost is staying around the same. Because, like you said, Rosie, you know, before you're looking at a jug of milk and you're like, you know, everything's just a little bit smaller, a little bit different. And think about this: 12 years ago, and I'm just coming up with the number. 12 years ago, milk never lasted as long as it does now. I mean, you can go weeks where before, when you would buy milk from a grocery store when you were a kid, you know, it was so I don't know if you're getting that same gallon of milk that you're buying, you know, it's 3 times the price, but I don't know what they're putting in it to make it last so much longer. I remember milk rotting away quick, where now, shit, it can sit in the fridge for a month.
Well, it's kind of interesting that the way that consumer product companies particularly reverse that, just totally flip the game on its head. It used to be, at least when I was growing up in the 70s, inflation was the big bugaboo, and we had Gerald Ford came in with whip inflation now, buttons, and it really took until 1979, 1980 when Federal Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker came in and basically raised up interest rates to 14, 15%. It just broke the back of the economy and just destroyed inflation. It wiped out the gold and silver investors in the late 70s. And it's very interesting that after that period, you know, when these companies were under pressure and they were under pressure and they were under pressure to try to increase profits, and then that someday somebody had the bright idea, instead of us fighting to raise prices, why don't we just play the game of just packaging less in the same package, or you know, slightly different size package, and there won't be that resistance. And it was actually, you know, if you want to call it brilliant, it was a brilliant marketing insight on their part, because it worked very well. And it leads us to the point today where I'm seeing more and more of that in the marketplace. Plus, I'm seeing prices start to rise. So, should we really be surprised when we've had QE1, quantitative easing 1, quantitative easing 2, quantitative easing 3, and threats of 0 or negative interest rates? Should we really be surprised that what the Fed was avidly trying to get, they may actually be producing right now, which is inflation? And I want to answer just a couple of the side chat comments. Somebody asked if the Fed's raising rates, what's a safe thing to be in? Well, it depends how aggressive you are traditionally. 1 or 2 interest rate rises is not going to make a hoot and holler difference to Wall Street. I mean, how much difference really is there between, say, 1/4% and 0.5% interest rate? Yeah, it's twice as much, but it's still on a very low relative basis. So it's going to take quite a few rises, I believe, to really pop a bubble, if we're in a bubble, and I have more reason to believe that we are. So if you have the courage to stick it out, I think you'll be rewarded. If you're conservative, you may want to take a good measure of your chips off and put them into very short-term instruments that will rise along with those interest rates. It won't be rapid, but if every 2 to 3 months you get 1/4% rise, well, at the end of the year, it might amount to something by that point in time, and you won't have any capital being risked at all. So I also continue to think that the Fed may have actually overreached with their stimulus, and we may have we could have a big inflationary stagflation sort of surge of pricing. I was looking at some of the information in the markets today, and there's a lot of rumbling in the labor markets now. We're starting to tighten up, particularly for some very low-level service, not particularly in skilled positions, but heating up for the low-level workers, getting rather scarce in our economy now. So they said I'm breaking up. Am I still breaking up here?
Actually, it cleared up.
Okay, good. Thank you. So it's just very interesting, the static shit. Well, I think it cleared up from what they're saying. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just on a Wi-Fi. Next week I'll set up the hardwired. I just necessitate switching.
We get you one of these little snowballs, the blue snowball.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing right now. That works really good.
Yeah, can you hear me, Major Rosie? But the point is, I still think there's, we could be in a real once in a lifetime thing here. So it just depends. So it's interesting times. I continue to like that. I come off the chats and every week people's, you guys beat the same drum over there. Well, if something's working, you stay with it. So, I continue to like metals, silver and gold. I think that they're always highly reactive to any sniff of inflation at all. And if you have extra money, you may want to look into I-bonds. I'm not even sure if our government's still issuing them. You used to be able to buy $60,000 worth a year, and these I-bonds, you buy them for full face value, and then over time, every May 1st and every November 1st, the rate is set depending on inflation on top of the base rate that they give you. So that's something that you may want to look at. You may want to consider too. They're called I-bonds or inflation bonds. I'm pretty sure they're probably still issuing, although they're not issued through banks anymore because the Fed doesn't want you putting money into the federal system. But it's a nice way to protect your money and then get a rate that adjusts according to inflation too, so you never really lose your purchasing power on that. So,
well, it's not hard to see the establishment talking about what we're talking about. There's been story after story on mainstream media about people billionaires getting out of the stock market. If they don't get out of the stock market, they at least move their money to something more secure. This is on USA Today. This is on your whatever newspaper you get. If you look, they're usually small stories, don't get me wrong, but they're there. The market knows a crash is coming. They don't know when, they don't know how bad, but they do say that if it happens, it's going to be really bad. And it's got a lot of people scared.
Well, we'll be coming off of a very high level year relative. If you look at a chart from 1932 to 2016, it's been, we haven't really had a hard drop since really the 1930s. Of course, we had that big 2008 wipeout, but it was nothing on really the dimension of 1929 to 1932, which basically cleared all the dead wood out of the economy, the leftover of the Roaring '20s. So the scale of it is likely to be big. It's usually in proportion to what preceded it or what comes after. In other words, the run up of gold from 1970 to 1980 was huge, from $32 an ounce to $800 an ounce. Well, the preceding drop was huge too, from $800 down to $250. It's all in scale proportion to what came with it. Now, Mindy Patriot asked a really important question. She said she heard that Joe Biden and Obama had a meeting with Janet Yellen, the Federal Reserve Chairwoman, either today or yesterday. So what do you think that they talked about? Well, if you ask me in an election year, what do you think that they gave Janet Yellen her marching orders for the election year?
Oh, there's definitely some talk about what the plan is. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you walk in and if you don't think that the Federal Reserve, if you think the Federal Reserve is an independent body, you got another thing coming. They're a very political body, and you know darn well that Biden and Obama got in there and said, look, we want to win this election, and the last thing we need is you running off the reservation here like a loose cannon and threatening to raise interest rates and all this. This also feeds further into my feeling that this bubble that we're building could be unchallenged for a while by interest rates, and it could become a real beast by the time they're really in a position to address that. I mean, I know that sounds very weird and very at odds with the way our economy is right now, but the markets don't always have to follow in the intermediate term. They don't always have to follow what goes on in the economy. Only in the very longest run do they.
Do you think the longer they delay this crash, the worse it'll be?
Oh yeah, because imagine a market that we've never seen before, which is really a runaway track market where people were fighting to get rapidly educated on what's the stock market about, or how do you open up a brokerage account, and the commercial TV and radio starts to be a big pickup in advertising, and this becomes like a big gathering operation. It starts to gather in more and more assets that were never before put into the market, just like in the 1920s, and then it becomes a cocktail party topic until it reaches such a point like in the 1920s when John F. Kennedy, Joseph P. Kennedy was having his shoe shined on Wall Street, and the shoe shine kid was giving him a stock tip. And he said, man, if the shoe shine kid is giving out stock tips, I got to get the hell out of this market. And he was one of the few that actually made money on the drop there. So yeah, you could build a hell of a head of steam before anything's done, and it's few people have ever really seen parabolic markets, and by that I mean a market that kind of rises slowly, and then as it reaches its end in time, it rises very rapidly to this almost straight up rise as everybody suddenly gets all those last dollars, all those last free dollars are sucked into the market. And when those are destroyed, what do you think happens to the economy? When all that purchasing power is suddenly wiped out, that massive amount of capital that went into that market, and all of a sudden it's top sliced and cut off like in October of 1929, well, you can imagine the repercussions are really severe in an economy when you come down the other side of what I call a bayonet there, that bayonet rise where you go up like that and then you drop down the other side. And that's what makes them particularly fearsome, because these type of markets can be great destroyers of wealth in a very short period of time, and they can change people's behavior dramatically in a very short period of time. They can cause everybody to really cinch in their spending, and then we start that paradox of thrift where you spend less because you're scared, and because you're spending less, your neighbor gets thrown out of work and they're spending less, and it creates this spiral that is very dangerous, what they call the paradox of thrift. The more you save, the worse things get. So it's your detector, I think your radar detector is right, TR, in the sense of understanding that the machine is running forward, but we don't exactly have the greatest minds at the controls on this thing. So I just think they're flying by the seat of their flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah, I watched the video today, and the guy, he was talking about economics, and he was talking about gold has been, slowly like inching up, only like 10 or 15 bucks a day or whatever. But he was looking at gold as being an indicator. It's inching up, but he predicted that it would all of a sudden take a sudden drop. And if you see gold take a drop in price, now this is just what he said. I don't have any knowledge of where he's coming from with this. It's just another person I listen to. But he said if you see gold start dropping really fast, to hang on. Something's about to happen. Do you think that could be true?
Well, what do you think on the other end? I mean, traditionally, when shit's hitting the fan and those type of things, a lot of people's instinct around the world at that moment is to just grab precious metals. So always you'll see in financial distress, you'll see this sort of immediate, this surge as people just grab it. And then if it's a really severe drop somewhere else in the economy or something terrible happened, yeah, the bottom can fall out. But there's too many people now that understand that a dollar is not a dollar anymore, and a currency is not a currency anymore. And I think there's less people apt to. It's almost like you're willingly trading something real and tangible for something paper, some type of fiat currency. And I think that there's less and less inclination to sell gold and just hold paper dollars. Our currency's been dropping for about 7 months. The U.S. dollar, we had a bit of a rally today. So I think there's good reason for this cushion sort of underneath of that. Now, Gwen's saying no houses are selling in certain areas. Yeah, it's very true. I mean, but you got to remember, it won't stop a market from rising and going into a runaway. By 1928, the U.S. economy was slowing down. The railroad car loadings were dropping very quickly. Car sales were starting to go into the tank, and it had absolutely no effect for the next year and a half on the stock market. It just went off on its merry way.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he was implying when he said when he was talking about the gold prices. I think he was talking about like that would be a sign that things were about to happen. I could have misunderstood what he was saying, but that's what I don't think he was saying that the price of gold would drop, really significant when the shit hit the fan. I think he was just saying it's an indicator of things about to happen, or something to that effect. I really didn't get, really grasp exactly what he was trying to say. But
well, I mean, it could very well be. I mean, the important thing, of course, is the economy underneath of all of it. And 25 years ago, there was no such thing as you had Dollar General, which were few and far between in this nation. And Dollar General stores really served just the small town America. And now you have Dollar Tree and all these things. You have as somebody mentioned on this side, the proliferation of payday loan businesses out there. People are just taxed. People are struggling. I mean, you're just not getting those wages. I hate to say this because it sounds so terrible, but we've basically gutted the middle class and really stratified our society into people that are relatively comfortable, and then the rest of the day-to-day wage earners and people like that. And it's difficult. I'm not talking about people like Matt that are out there doing with knowledge welding, where you TIG weld and things like that, and you got to know what you're doing. I'm just talking about the person that's working at the Wendy's or KFC or the Dollar Tree or a supermarket. That's really where the pain is being felt in our economy right now. So that's reality. I mean, the market and the other stuff is just kind of just oscillates around that reality in some loose sort of correlation to that. So.
There was a question, Rosie, earlier. It was a while ago now. I'm not sure who put it out there. about China and us owing them a certain amount of money. I don't know if there was so much a question behind that, but it was basically, I think they were just asking, could that, hurt? I mean, how bad is that going to hurt?
Well, I mean, it's like they pat themselves on the back at the White House because instead of borrowing $400 billion, they're only borrowing $200 billion a year. I mean, the debt just piles on top of the debt. And then after a while, it becomes far greater than a Chinese problem. It becomes, it's it's far more than our problem, because now it's a question of realizing you're not going to be paid back in equivalent dollars that you lent. So, and the Chinese are realistic about things, and this is one of the reasons that, and one of the things that I believe underlies the precious metals market, is that China doesn't want to, it can't buy in its own currency, so to speak. They don't want their own currency to go higher, or they start to impact their own ability to sell goods overseas and keep their costs low. So what do they do with all these dollars that they have and all these bonds that they've accumulated, these trillions of dollars of bonds and dollars? They start to move them out of those of the U.S. dollar, and they start putting them into things like alternate currencies, like Swiss francs, like gold and silver, and because what else really is there except that? And they do more direct investing in commodities in places like Africa. So will our debt ever be paid off? I don't know how it could be. I mean, how can you have an economy generate enough to, we can't even run a balanced budget in this country. How in the hell can we, do anything except build up the debt mountain?
Well, isn't that what Keynesian economics is based on, debt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Your deficit financing, but Keynes never said do it until you die and then inflict the next generation with it in the next generation. Keynes was famous for saying in the long run we're all dead. Yeah, true, but Keynes also said that in times of surplus, or when times are good, you have to do the opposite thing of deficit spending. You have to build up the treasury again so that you have that ability when times get lean again to spend more than you have and borrow the rest. But I think it was all the way back to Clinton, I think, when we had a balanced budget in this country, and it's gotten to the point where, quite honestly, very few people even give a fuck anymore, because the practical impact of it has been zero on our lives. But the reality is, when it does come to pass, it's going to be huge, because it's going to necessitate a whole redo of the international currency structure. It was, founded post-war, Bretton Woods arrangements and things, and that's where things get very dicey and very interesting. And what do you want to be holding at that point? A lot of paper dollars, or do you want to have a reserve of gold? And I think that's what the Chinese are posturing to have, so that they have a strong seat at that table when that time comes.
Well, I think we're so far in debt right now that people know that there's no action that can be taken to, basically fix it in any time soon. So they're just kind of blowing it off, like, well, fuck it, it's,
what
dollars worth.
Kick the can, right? Kick the can down the road.
Yeah, I don't want to get in, and this ain't even conspiracy, but the whole process of the Federal Reserve is we was in debt from day one. Once that was established, there's no way to pay it off. You're paying a credit card off with a credit card. Every dollar we produce has debt attached to it. There's no way to pay it off, because every dollar that we use to pay off the debt has debt attached to it. So it's a endless cycle of eventually it is going to crash. There's no way in hell it can't crash. It's just a revolving cycle that
So how does it play out? And we know that, and you're exactly correct. It's 22 cents tagged onto every dollar that's floated in this economy is part of that 22% in rising debt burden that has to be paid. Now, we're damn lucky right now that we got 0.25% interest rates, okay? But that came at a cost of a collapsed housing market from, 2008, 2009, just digging out from under that. But that's coming at a tremendous cost to the economy and jobs. And interest rates ain't going to go any lower, right? I mean, we're past the sweet spot of any gains that have been realized through interest are gone now. I mean, that game is done. Anything that moves on interest rates now is going to be on the upside. So what do you think the effect that's going to be as the federal government starts to roll over its debt on a rising interest rate curve? Well, you can imagine how fast the deficit multiplies. Not just the debt, but the accumulated deficit against the federal balance, attempts to balance the budget every year. You have a nightmare scenario. It's like a monetary Armageddon hits right there, and then that's what I say. Everybody's going to want a seat at the table when they talk about either a world currency or B, how we're gonna rationalize all this debt that's in the world. It's not just the United States either. China's got plenty of debt. It floats out there more domestically than internationally. But Japan's got a ton of debt out there. Europe has a shitload of debt. These socialist countries. So it gets so big that everybody's got to have a seat at the table. There won't really be any winners in that kind of economy. And all of a sudden, when you have to spend and live on what you actually take in tax revenue, then what do? Well, everybody has a very declined and shrunken down standard of living. That's the answer. That's the result of it. When you have to start living within your means, and no, we can't enhance the welfare checks this month. We can't, up the food stamps. We have to cut back. And medical care on the things like Medicaid and Medicare. You can see all that stuff coming.
Yeah, it's if you wrap your head around it, or at least try to. With everything that's going down with the economy, and then you add on the added, there's so many things, like the refugee problem, the wars that's going on. It's like everything's just escalating to promote a crash. I don't see how it ain't any different, how it isn't going to happen. That's just my feeble attempt to wrap my head around it. But it's like there's more pressure, more burden on the system. This almost a failed state already, that it's almost being pushed to fail.
Well, it's you don't give yourself enough credit, TR. I mean, you think, you see, you have a brain. You're able to make inferences and engage in a little inductive reasoning. You don't have to have all the facts laid out in front of you and then after the fact figured, oh, this is why. You can see a curve of debt, you can see a graph of debt that rises and rises more steeply as time goes by. And the only thing that's held that in check is this decline of interest rates from 1981, 82, from about 14% on the U.S. Treasuries to about, effectively 1.5%. Okay, that's like kept that in check. It's almost like I could compare it to a nuclear reactor like Fukushima that's gone crazy. I mean, as long as your water supply holds out and you keep pumping that water onto that reactor pile there that's melting down, it's all good. You can party like it's 1999. But when you start trying to store all that water that's been radioactively contaminated, and you start to run out of storage space, and then, well, gee, maybe the pump breaks down one day, and it's going to be 3 days until you can get new water on it, and then it just goes berserk. That's kind of like all we've done here the last 15 years, 20 years or so, is just hose this pile of nuclear material down. And now it's like our hose, there won't be any more, any lower interest rates to bail us out anymore. If anything else, this thing could spin out of control so quickly when rates do start to rise that we may be stunned at how fast things and how hard things come apart, because one of the hardest things to do is to rationalize debt and get back to a strong base for economic advancement.
Well, I think another reason the interest rates are so low, there's a combination of things, but our national debt has gone up so much. Here, the last couple of presidents is what? Doubled or tripled each president, whether it's Bush, Obama, don't matter. It did. It's not a Republican or a Democratic thing. I mean, it don't matter who's in there. It keeps going up. And right now, our debt is so high that if the interest rates go up, every little bit it goes up, it puts us in a worse case. It puts us in worse trouble. And if it does actually come up to what would actually help the economy, it would actually kill the United States, because our debt is so much, we can't even pay the damn interest on it hardly now. So as soon as that interest rates go up just a little bit, we're broke. We're beyond broke. We're already broke.
Well, I said we have zero margin for anything except 0% interest rates. Anything above that, and I don't care how strong the economy is or how much it might be kicking into the Treasury, you still have that. You still have an unbalanced budget, and any increase is going to have a dramatic impact on the yearly budget of the United States government. I think, what are we, like 22% of it now goes towards interest service. I think that's the number 3 thing behind defense spending and social spending in this country. I think number 3 is now debt service, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. Well, that's a lot of dollars that have to be paid back, that are taken out, that could go somewhere else and be productive. But that's the price.
I looked it up, and this is when our debt was at 18 trillion. Now it's at 19 trillion and climbing. We are actually paying, because when our debt was 10 trillion, there was some interest rate. We're paying the exact same now, which we're not paying off. We've never tried to pay off the debt. We just pay the interest owed. Well, I shouldn't say never, but since 1913 anyway. We are paying the same amount now at almost 20 trillion as we did at 10 trillion. So as soon as that bumps up just a little bit, we can't afford it. We can't do it.
It's going to be a very powerful reverse lever that has a tremendous impact. So the question is, where's the break point? IBC, where's the break point? Sooner or later in here, you're going to have this break point, and you could have this shoot up in rates that's dramatic and unprecedented in this country. Is some realization, perhaps, who knows, word gets out that the People's Bank of China or whatever has decided they're not going to buy any U.S. Treasury issuance anymore, or the Japanese, or it only takes something like that to upset the apple cart these days. Now the Chinese also have a vested interest in our debt, because they're so far up to their elbows in it. They have to also be careful that they don't do things to destroy their own self-interest here. So it's really not much easier on them than it is on us. It's almost like we're all in the same shitty boat together by what we did, and then by what they could be seen as stupidly had done. So it's kind of an interesting conundrum to see this, but the break point is probably going to be something very, very dramatic. You're going to have some real liftoff or explosion of rates that's going to go up dramatically in a short period of time. Then it'll seem to settle down again, and then it'll probably be really off to the races here. So something's going to happen.
Yeah, and many countries have been slowly unloading. I don't even know if I would say slowly, but for the benefit of the doubt, we'll just say slowly. But China and a lot of countries are slowly unloading their U.S. debt.
Well, our U.S. dollar is showing that.
Yeah.
It's showing that over the past few months, in particular.
Russia's kind of I'm not ashamed to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, and I figure all the world powers are all in it together to a certain degree. But I'm thinking more and more differently lately. And I actually think Russia is not a player. I could be wrong on that. But I think Russia is actually opening a door where we may see them implement where the OPEC US dollar is not used. And when that happens, and it's really close, shit's going to hit the fan. If they open the doors and start start buying oil from Iran using rubles or whatever, gold or something like that, that'll be the beginning of the end.
Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that when you build on a house and cards with nothing there except free-floating currencies that aren't backed by anything, and they can be printed willy-nilly at will, and who gives a fuck? QE 1, 2, 3. You're just bombarding the system with funny money, and then you leave all the players there to figure out what the true worth of what this crap is. It's being peddled to them, and they start to take defensive steps, at least the smarter ones. And I always consider the Chinese central bank. These are very smart, very savvy people. Their own memories are measured in terms of thousands of years of history and not hundreds of years. So they've been to a few rodeos over a couple thousand years, and they're probably studying very intently how this is all going to play out. And over the last 30 or 40 years, we've had cycles of the U.S. dollar will get strong. Under Reagan it got very strong, and then it got very, very weak, and then you'll have the pronouncements that Treasury Secretary Baker, we don't want a weak dollar, and then it starts to strengthen again. And one of these times we go down here, and we just keep going. There is no turn back on that. So it forces us to be an exporter again to try to make money. It could be good for reindustrializing America, but short term it's a disaster for everybody's standard of living.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards up in the air. I really don't know what the answer is, what is going to happen. But there's a lot of, as I tell people close to me, that there's a lot of cards in the deck, and we don't know what cards are going to be dealt. But none of them are any good. There's a lot of things that are soon about to happen, I think.
This is why we prep.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you can have some stability in your life when everything is just potential chaos around you, and that's a nice thing if you can protect that and keep that quiet and just low key, and you have a good chance of muddling through.
Yeah. I'm not looking to be rich in the future. I'm just looking to be fed and stay alive.
Yeah, food, shelter, and clothing. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
it. Exactly.
And if it's all for nothing, so be it. I've had several people ask me, well, what if nothing happens? And I tell them, well, I'll have food. You know, 10 years from now, I'll have rice. I got hundreds of pounds of rice and stuff. It's like, 10 years from now, nothing happens. I still got rice and beans and stuff that I put back that keeps me. I don't have to go to the grocery store. If I'm low on funds, 10 years from now, I can crack open a damn 5-gallon bucket and fry up some rice or boil up some rice. I mean, it's
you're
it's
not
going
gonna
to
you're
be
not gonna
you.
starve. Yeah, you're not gonna starve.
Exactly.
I'm just saying we have to be getting closer to that point now. Just on logic alone tells you that. Just because we've now run out the string of interest rate drops in this country, there's you can talk and argue about negative interest rates and things like that, and may very well still be adopted. But the reality is that the next moves are probably 99% sure to be rising interest rates going forward, and that's where the mayhem sort of begins.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not wishing for the shit hit the fan, the bottom to drop out. It's just, history repeats itself. If you're even half-ass paying attention, um, you can kind of see bad things are in our future. Um, just based on history. I love history. There's never been a civilization that has endured. Every civilization, every government has failed eventually, and we're not going to be any different. It may not even be within my lifetime, but I think we all kind of agree that yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. It may not, but it's not hard to see if you're looking.
Well, I guess it's a question of how far you can escape the reality of mathematics and compound interest. I guess that's the key. Because when you come into the world and you have $66,000 of debt, accrued debt on your back, well, the debt service is okay when it's 0% interest rate, but what's it going to be? When you got to pony up your $6,600 a year of interest just to keep yourself rolling along from age 1 day to 110. So it's interesting. Yeah, Winged Tracy has an interesting point. It's not that silver and gold will go up; it's that the dollar will go down. Yeah, it's a relative kind of thing, and that's exactly right. Is an elevator going up or down? Well, it depends where your vantage point is in the building, and that's exactly right. We've talked before, TR. Remember when I gave you that example in 1920s that a silver dime would buy a loaf of bread? Well, the same silver dime buys a loaf of bread in 2016 today. It's perfectly maintained its purchasing power through time.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what they do.
Yeah, I think silver, gold, it seems to fluctuate a little bit more, but silver has stood the test of time as just being I won't say a dead constant, but just like you say, that same silver dime will buy you the same thing in 1930 that it will today almost.
Yep, exactly.
It's not that it's going to make you rich. It'll just never lose its value.
It'll absolutely ensure your standard of living and that you don't fall behind in purchasing power, and that's what it's all about. Because all around you, You have governments that are playing the printing money game and the monetization of debt. And their thing is, well, a little bit isn't going to hurt. You know, we have so much slack in the economy. Who cares if we float another $2 or $3 trillion into there? There's so much. You know, this balloon is so deflated. Who cares? You know, fire it in there.
And you don't even have to be that old. Not that I'm accusing any of us being old, but I'm just saying the last 10 or 20 years. Okay, I'm almost 50. The last 10 or 20 years, the inflation rate has just went out of freaking sight. You know, I mean, for the longest time, gas stayed around the same prices, milk, eggs, and all that. It might have slowly crept up, but up until 2002, I would say, things were fairly stable. You know, it eased up a little bit over time. And then from 2000, in the last 16, 18 years, I'll just go ahead and just say 16 years, everything has almost tripled or more in price. And so our dollar has lost 66% of its value just in the last 10, 20 years. And it's not hard to see that.
Yeah, because we have to have a standard of living that's on parity with the average of the world for globalization. That's actually what globalization means. It doesn't mean you get to protect your great position over the long haul. It means that eventually, over the long haul, everybody has about the equivalent standard of living if they have the same moderate education, no matter where they are in the world. And I would agree with you, TR. And the thing I say again, when interest rates start to rise, I mean, it's almost like this pressure is being held back, and I kind of sense that now. On a corporate level, they're almost reaching a point where they got to push in price increases so bad, just because of the pressures of capitalism and needing to show rising profitability and stuff. That when the interest rate spike comes, it's going to be, it's going to be pretty epic when that kicks off. So that's why I say if you're going to refinance or you're looking at refining a house, the clock is ticking on that. So if you haven't done it, this is probably the best time you're ever going to have to lock in a sub 4% mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's not a bad idea. I mean, you're paying the mortgage anyway. If you can get it lower, go ahead and do it. I know I had my mortgage company bank been sending me stuff, kind of not pressuring, but wanting me to do a direct draft, and I'm like, or direct deposit or whatever. And I'm like, nah, I can't do that, because if the shit does hit the fan, who's to say they ain't going to just say, well, okay, we need to collect on this today and just wipe my bank account out. I ain't saying they would, but if you give them that power, who's to say they won't? Yeah,
I mean, don't ever underestimate, the goal of the United States government is survival, right? As a country, that's first and foremost, and they will throw you into the hopper like no second thought about it. If it sustains the interests of the United States, if it perpetuates the United States into the future, yeah, they'll have no second thought about, like Greece did when they started grabbing people's bank accounts and prorating and doing. They won't hesitate to do that. Compliance will be another matter, but you can bet that they won't hesitate to extort if they think the time is necessitated for that.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I think it's a different subject, but I'm living proof that our United States government will do whatever's in their best interest at whatever cost. I was a reserve Navy guy, and they made me active duty and shipped my ass off into the desert. That was not for the defense of America as a threat. That was a defense of America for the almighty dollar. So they were willing to sacrifice me for $1. So I learned that lesson really hard, really fast.
So TR, put in compare years cost of living calculator from 1966 for $100 to 2016. When you calculate it out, it's $740 and some change.
Let's say that again now. Explain that again.
So I went to, it's basically a study by the American Institute of Economic Research. And when you put in the cost of living calculator to compare years, to compare value of what $100 was worth in 1966, for that same $100 to buy, $100 worth of shit, it would cost you $740.
No, I don't doubt that one bit.
Yeah.
That's why we had this. That's why we had the rapid rise of women in the workforce in the 1970s and 80s.
Let's just do 16 years.
Because it started to take 2 paychecks to sustain the average household standard of living.
Yeah.
So just in the last 16 years, it takes $137 to get $100 worth of stuff in 2000.
I mean, have you looked at truck prices, guys? Have you looked at what they're?
Ridiculous.
It's fucking crazy. I mean, $50,000 for a truck.
F-150 or something.
Yeah. And people are buying them.
Well, they're floating. The interest rates are low, but they're not in high cotton. Their trucks are moving okay, but the car makers are, it's a little iffy right now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Being in the plastics industry, I worked for a few months in automotive, and that's one place that I'm going to try to stay away from. Right now, I'm not in automotive, and I don't want to get in automotive because if the shit starts really hitting the fan, if it happens to happen somewhat slowly or a little bit slow, at least I'm a little bit protected because, the automotive, I do not want to be in the automotive industry whatsoever because that's the last thing people are going to do is go out and buy a new car or truck when the economy is taking a dump.
And given our struggles to maintain a standard of living, you guys got to realize that every day the Chinese are busting their ass to try to get a car that's going to meet United States standards, Department of Transportation, to stick on the road, and you're going to see a $5,000 to $6,000 car that'll probably go over like the Fords of the 1920s did. The average working person's kind of, the Shanghai or whatever the hell it's called, the Cherry, and we haven't even seen that wave coming yet.
Yeah. I had no idea we was going to carry a economy-based chat this far.
Well, don't forget, economics is really the driver of a lot of decisions that are made in politics. We wouldn't have had liberalism if the Great Depression hadn't ushered in the New Deal, and it's economics drives a lot of political decisions and things. So.
Oh, I'm not complaining, Rosie.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm not surprised that we could get a lot of talk out of it.
Well, it's something that affects all of us. Just like Rick was talking about. What did you say? $100 was. What did you say? Like 15, 16 years ago, is $100 then is 136 now, or something like that.
Yeah, it was 16 years ago. It was 137. Well, here's a new thing I pulled up off of prices in the 80s. It says in 1980. If I just give you 1980, It says 48 cents for a loaf of bread, $1.60 for a gallon of milk, $1.03 for gas. A car, I guess the average car was $5,413. A house was $86,000. Postage stamp, and then just let's see, it'd be 15 years later, in 1995, a stamp went up exactly twice as much. Bread went from 48 cents to $1.62. Milk went from $1.60 to $2.41. Gas didn't go up much. It went up 7 cents in 15 years. And a car went up almost 10 grand.
Well, oil was a manipulated market for a lot of years, and now that OPEC's back has been broken, it's more of a worldwide regular commodity market, so it's probably settling down to what it should have been if they hadn't have had that monopoly over the market. Those are very interesting. I mean, have you looked at a dozen eggs lately? I mean, it's crazy in the store.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's beyond belief.
Well, the question is, has anybody's income gone up as much as the market prices? Has your income, increased 30% in the last 15 years? Has it increased 100% in the last 20 years?
No, that's why people are running scared.
Well, that's what's funny about the cost of living allowance, COLA. When say you get a raise at work and they put in COLA, the cost of living allowance. That doesn't do shit for you. You're still in the hole.
Yeah. And plus your insurance, especially the last few years, your insurance went up X amount. You're paying more for groceries. You're paying more for everything you buy, just about. And then they give you get a 3% raise.
Yeah.
4 or 5 at most for people.
Yeah, 5 if you're lucky.
And you're getting less for your money at the store.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller product.
And that's why, like I said, they well, I didn't say it, but I think I did last chat. They were actually predicting, they were trying to say we had like a 2% growth, a 1.5% growth. They couldn't really nail it down, and then they finally admitted it, that we might have had negative growth the first quarter of this year. It's because people ain't buying nothing they don't need. If you don't need it, you're not buying it. And that's showing up in the market.
Yeah, so again, ever since I came on, and I guess your first chat back in July, TR, the burning question is, where's the driver? Where's the big thing that drives this forward? Where's the big job creator out there? You guys tell me. I don't see it out there. I just see things muddling. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Our boiler is underwater here. We don't have the ability to.
We don't produce anything. We don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think. Now this isn't all jobs, of course, but on that little debt clock link I put out there, it's showing that there's only 12,000 manufacturing jobs in America. A job that I hold, I'm one of those 12 million. But if you think about it, 12 million manufacturing jobs in America. Now I think that excludes farming.
Yeah, and it's only really, you won't believe it, it's only really been as high as like 28 million at its peak, outside of wartime, of course, but I'm just saying wartime production, but it's important. Its ability to heighten a standard of living far outweighs its numbers. Numerically, it's much more important to a good standard of living because of the benefits. I saw a video today on YouTube. It was a look back to Zenith closing their assembly plant in 1978 in Sioux City, Iowa, and moving those jobs to Mexico. And it was interesting to just see this video. It was like a forerunner of what was to come for the next 40 years with offshoring. And you don't realize how important manufacturing is until you see the ripple effects of those layoffs and what they did for 25 years to Sioux City, Iowa, until like the internet came along and some things like that. I mean, manufacturing is so critical. It's so critical to make something, to actually produce something, you know, and not just to offer a service.
Yeah. I'm lucky in the area I live in. We have a lot of manufacturing here. Plastics kind of took over where textiles faded away. But that being said, it's still less than it used to be. I'm not saying high-paying jobs or anything like that, but there were jobs. And a country can't rely on service industry and think they're going to survive. You can't be a service-related job industry and it sustain itself. When I say service, I mean, you know, customer service, you know, working at frickin' McDonald's, working at Lowe's, whatever. That you got to produce something in order for the whole cycle to work. If you're not trading goods with other countries and stuff like that, it will eventually become a third world country if we're not there already.
Yeah, it's the only next step.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the service industry. Don't get me wrong. I know you serve in the service industry, Rick. I'm not saying anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that we as a country had to produce more than we import to strive.
And we're the only probably company out of all the companies that try to put themselves out of business.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's your dream, is there's never a fire. There's never an accident.
I don't know if that's my dream, but
well, I mean, you know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Utopia.
No, it's true. I don't know of any other company anywhere in the world that tries to put themselves out of business. I mean, where, you know, don't play with matches, you know, smoke detector this and all this kind of shit. But the only reason why we're still around is people don't pay attention and they're idiots. When it comes to, you know, we go on people that have done something wrong, screwed up somehow, or there was an accident.
You've done videos yourself, you know, hey, you know, you need new smoke detectors, and this is the stats on people dying from fires. And I know you noticed, but we lost Rosie. Hopefully,
I was looking at the side chat.
It's about time, you know, we've been on here an hour and a half anyway, so we'll probably end this pretty soon. But, yeah, I mean, you're a different industry. You don't really count in the conversation that we was having. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that you're doing a service to the community, you know.
And I think third option's probably right. Matt's probably out shooting his favorite AR tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, for somebody that don't like AR-15s, he's changing buffer tubes and
hell yeah,
all kind of shit.
How's your ammo working out? Your powder-coated ammo?
It's working good, man. Let's see. Yeah, I got some right there. There you go.
Wondering how that was working.
There you go.
I like it because it's just cool looking. It's freaking red.
Yeah, red bullets.
I gotta make me some blue ones. And your 6 covered blue, like that.
They don't have blue. They have black, white, red. I think that's the only colors they have.
Powder coat?
Well, and that's at Harbor Freight.
Oh, got it.
I'm not saying you couldn't get it somewhere else. Hey, Rosie.
Hey.
You going to
look at my headphone. Well, when you disconnect the headphone off this, you have to start the whole computer again, or it won't. You can't just plug. Yeah, exactly. So it sucks. So
You know, you didn't miss much.
Come on, guys. I missed a lot here.
Well, and getting back to what I was saying when I said there was only 12 million manufacturing jobs, a little known fact, or probably a well-known fact, I don't know. Uh, the majority of America has always been employed by small businesses. I mean, for forever, the majority has been small businesses. Whether they produce something or not, it didn't matter. It was still small businesses. So you gotta, throw that in there.
And
Uh,
generally that was built around services, restaurants, bars,
mhm.
haircutteries, furniture
Yeah.
companies. They were all built around something being produced in that area. Because I've seen it like in Missouri when I go back and visit where Jen, lived for a while there. What happens when the big honcho closes up and moves away? The results, they're devastating and they're damn near irreversible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about construction companies, landscaping companies, uh, even companies that pave driveways or whatever. That's not considered manufacturing. So there's a lot of those jobs out there too. And that's always made up the majority of the jobs in America. It's just what's unfortunate is even those are declining rapidly.
Well, and those
Yeah,
small businesses that you talk about, like construction companies and stuff like that, especially the smaller mom and pop kind of ones, those are the first ones to go, you know. Our economy, what was it, the 90s? When shit was getting all stupid, there were so many construction companies that just lost their ass, had to get rid of their employees and all their equipment, and and it took forever for it to come back. And only the real strong, powerful ones were able to hang on.
I think it's interesting to see that we don't have as many mom and pop, but we have, Susie and Bobby. I mean, we've got probably more micro formations because of the internet than ever before. More people trying to get a home-based internet business going. I think that's kind of interesting. I don't really know what the future of that. People that produce and sell stuff on Etsy and other sites like that, trying to get their own home-based businesses. People that go out and do Uber driving and taxi driving, things like that. They're
I use Uber a lot.
open up their homes for Airbnb, and it's like anything that you can do to make a dollar these days.
Well, things have definitely changed, no doubt. Uh,
Well, you know what's kind of cool? It's hard because, like we talked about, I don't know, about a half hour ago, you take that same $100 and now it takes $137. Now you're looking for deals, and someone on the comments brought up coupons. But now your way of getting around stuff is, hey, I can save $5 in free shipping. I'm gonna hit up somebody on some site, Amazon or whatever the case is, to save $5. And like Rosie said earlier about how people are trying to get their own, home-based thing, it works great because you have no overhead. A lot of those businesses, they actually ship it out for you. You're just kind of like the middleman. So you don't even touch anything. You don't even touch, if someone wanted to buy this phone and I was selling it, not this one, but they order a phone, I don't even have to actually have a warehouse full of shit. I have a company that does all that and ships it right out. So you're just basically kind of a middleman that can make money. So in one aspect, that's pretty cool when it comes to people trying to survive. But
It's
but yeah,
almost like getting back to a guild sort of business of medieval times to me. I mean, it's decentralizing so rapidly because we've lost these huge hubs of manufacturing that used to be out there, and this is what I say to Matt. You can imagine Matt, with 12 million manufacturing jobs, how much that's probably 4 or 5-fold is sustained as a result of that payroll that comes in to those communities, because they sure as fuck aren't built on McDonald's and Burger King wages and things like that. So these manufactured jobs are just such huge money spinners, and the multiplier effect of that money moving around the community is also great. But when you lose that, it's almost like it's almost like they took the locomotive away from the rail cars, and everybody's just sitting in the rail cars waiting to move forward. Well, there ain't no way to move you forward anymore.
Yeah, and what sucks too about the people that actually try, there were some comments in there about people that actually try to make something. Think about the guy that makes custom knives. In order to sell that knife, he basically doesn't do shit, because in order to keep the price where someone actually might buy it, he may spend 10, 12 hours more to build some nice knife, but he's not. It's probably worth a lot more than he's selling it for, but no one's going to buy it. So
absolutely,
it's it's like when I was in South Carolina last week, we were down by the beach, and people were hand making baskets out of
palm
straw or whatever the hell it's called. It's like a straw that grows. It's a grass basically. And real bitchin', handmade, real nice. But when you flipped it over and you looked at the price, you're like, it's probably took that many man hours to build. But you're like, I'm not gonna spend that money for a freaking basket, Because my wife was looking at them. I'm all, screw that.
You used to see them in Hawaii all the time, made out of palm.
Yeah, they're bitchin'. I mean, they're really handmade, nice quality stuff. But in order to get what they put into it, they're not going to be able to do that when you can ship the grass over to China and they can make the same basket. Maybe not as nice, obviously, but they can do it for a quarter of the price, or shit, probably more than that, or less than that.
Yeah, it's very difficult to leverage yourself in that type of guild sort of workforce where you're one person banging out leather goods or something like that. It's very hard to become wealthy doing that type of thing.
Yeah, because everybody wants to save a buck because of the economy.
Yeah.
If everybody's rolling around with the Rolls Royces and millions of dollars stuck in their pocket, they'd be throwing it around, but there isn't anybody like that for the most part.
Somebody asked me a question, and I'll go ahead and answer it on there. I did it on comment. The question was, if I only had 3 things in a bug out situation that I could have. Let's see. Make sure I get it right. I don't know. Anyhow, if I only had 3 things, it'd be a knife, a fire starter, and a canteen, or some type of container for water. That would be my answer. If I only had 3 things I could have, that would be it.
If you're stuck on an island?
No, just bug out situation, period. If you only had 3 things you could have on you, to start off with, at least.
You don't want to know my answer. We
did
this on Deb's chat the other day. I was just in the comments section. I said, a Playboy mansion full of models. I said a set of ear pro and some towels.
Yeah, go out with a bang.
All the rest of the shit I don't need.
I'd want a gun, a knife, and a fire starter. Good, dependable fire starter.
Yeah, I prefer a gun. Don't get me wrong. I just say a knife, which the same person, Joshi Bingham,
Bingham.
asked any cordage. Depending on where you're at, you can kind of make cordage with a knife, but you limited me to 3 things. So it's a knife, some type of fire starter, and a canteen or some type of a device to capture water for storage to transport. Those three things right there, I think, are the essentials. I can do without rope and cordage and all that. I gotta have a knife, I gotta start a fire, and I gotta have a way to transport water. Period. That's the basics. And I'm not a bushcraft guy. I'm just saying that's the way I look at it.
See, I always take these questions as 3 items you can have. That'd be a bug-out bag with all that shit in it. You know what I mean? So I don't do very good with those kind of questions.
I mean, if it's a worst case scenario, shit hit the fan, I'd rather have, 3 hookers. If I had the 3 things, that's what I would want. 3 hookers and just go out with a bang.
Yeah, you guys are party animals. There we go.
Maybe a bottle of liquor and 2 hookers, maybe. Yeah.
You gotta think bigger than that, TR. Like the whole Playboy mansion full of models is one. See, you know what I'm saying? But you're gonna need ear pro because no one wants to hear all them girls yapping the whole time.
Yeah, well.
And you got to keep them. You got to keep them. You got to keep them fed and happy too.
They're not even naked on Playboy anymore, so I'm not sure how good the Playboy mansion is going to be.
Well, it's better than the magazine. You can take stuff off. A bottle of Rosie's liquor and 2 hookers.
Yeah, I'm toasting you guys right now here. So.
Are you drinking the old what is it? The Roses or Queen?
4 Roses. 4 Roses. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that one day. It's a whiskey, right?
Yeah, it's a bourbon whiskey. It's really quite good. It's my favorite on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail.
I drank a bottle of it. I think it's more of a. It is a bourbon, but it's more on the whiskey side, I think, than a bourbon. And here's a vodka to you.
There we go.
All I can do is this, and it'll work.
I know, you're at work.
There we go.
Cheers, bitches.
Hey, there's your mate's calling sign.
There they are.
I know, it kind of caught me off guard for a second. I'm all, what?
This was a good chat. Not that we got to end it right now, but I really enjoyed this talk about economics. I'm not surprised, but I am surprised that it carried on so long and there was so much interest in the external with the economics. So it actually gives me hope that people are paying attention and looking around at what's going on.
Yeah, I kind of think the economy impacts everybody. So everybody, when times are good, we don't think about it too much, but we all kind of got this sense of unease out there that something's not quite right, a sixth sense that we have. So it's really interesting. Fuzzy says, how do negative interest rates work? Well, imagine you go into a bank and the bank tells you, instead of us paying interest on your money in here, you're going to pay us to keep your money for you. You're going to pay us an interest rate to hold your money. That's how negative interest rates work. And the theory is, when faced with having to pay a bank to take your money, you will find a productive use for it better than the bank can do. So that's the theory of negative interest rates there. But they're finding out that even with negative interest rates, there are still more people that would prefer to have their money, pay that 0.25% and have their money on deposit than to try to go out and find a place to do better with it than they could get in the bank.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll ever happen in America. It has already happened in Europe. There are banks in Europe that have negative interest rates. And anybody in the, I can't say it's just manufacturing. I think they have been kind of actually putting this in place years ago, and it's slowly happening. Like where I work, you have no choice. They do direct deposit only. I cannot get a check from my employer. They direct deposit. So if they start implementing a negative interest rate in banks, bam, right off the bat, you have no choice. Your money goes straight into a bank. You know, however, right now it's not there, but they've been setting it up for a long time. That's what they want.
Yeah, that's another driver, potential important driver of things like the stock market right now.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yep, it's all like a cattle drive, you know. We're all on the cattle drive, and they close this gate and open that one, and put their put the red flag on this one, and hose you down over there.
And then we get branded.
Yeah, you get your ass branded, and then at the end of it, somebody fucking eats you.
Yeah. Then you're like, okay, I can go over there and get branded, or I can go that way and turn into a hammer.
Baby, I am prime.
And you're all happy about it.
Yeah, and you're smiling, yeah.
No, this is the best cattle drive ever.
Yeah. Can't wait till the next one. There ain't gonna be a next one. This is it.
So anybody got anything exciting going on?
I'll be out working on my well pump tomorrow. That's about exciting as it gets here tomorrow.
Getting the old RV rocking and rolling?
Yeah, I had it out last weekend. Yeah,
Nice.
A lot of fun. Very comfortable.
Had to do my first, what do they call it? Winterizing. Now that I'm in like weather where there's actual winter.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty interesting.
A little late for that. Hell, winter's about over here now.
No, I did it. I did it a long time ago.
Okay.
Now I got to figure out how to put all the shit back together where they pulled all the drains and this and that.
Yeah, we're kind of lucky we don't have to do that up here. So.
Well, he didn't either. He was in California a few months ago.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, we had to flush out the fresh water lines with a little bit of bleach, diluted bleach, and go through all that flush and all that. Yeah. It's all part of RV. So.
Yeah. Now he has to worry about shit freezing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Am I okay? Yeah, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Not
okay.
looking.
Change the subject. I hate to talk about this on air, but I really don't, to a point.
Lay it on him, TR.
I'm just saying if he's going to.
How the test results come out, TR?
I'm just saying if you're going to go to Farmageddon, and it may be out in the middle of the woods with no power and all that, are you thinking about taking your RV?
I was thinking about just camping in the back of the truck.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I need to talk to Rob and find out if there's even room for something like that. I don't know what the terrain looks. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know if there's a spot to park or what.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to talk to him. Because I was just going to say, I got a camper, but you got a really nice RV, and if you want a hitchhiker, if you'll stop by and pick me and my guns up.
I'll figure it out. I'm going to have to swing that one by the old lady and see what she says. But I will have to put it back in service, I guess, basically, from the winterization. I was talking to Rob, and I'm going to bring, I think I'm going to try to bring out a bunch of targets, and we'll do some, you know how I've been going Thursdays to those classes?
Mm-hmm.
Be kind of fun. We'll make up some little mini courses or whatever.
Yeah, because it's going to be on his property. Last I heard, I asked him and just do a video comment. I think he's going to do it on his property he just bought, and I don't know how much it was. He's got like, I don't know, 10 to 30 acres, whatever it is. I don't know. It might be more than that, but I think there'll be plenty of room. And he wants people to come out and camp, so That's why I was asking.
Yeah. No, I
Keep your head low.
I plan on camping, whether it's
Wear bright colors.
in the back of the truck or in a tent or whatever.
Now some beers did get broke out at the last one, but I will say everybody was very conscious of. I mean, when we was shooting, everybody was doing what they was doing, shooting, skeet shooting, and all this stuff. But once the shooting was over, that's when the coolers got broke open and a couple of beers got drank. Very responsible guys. You know, they wasn't no, messing around with guns and alcohol or anything like that. Good bunch of guys. So.
Stan wants more nipple shots.
There we go.
I did a video called Dr. Six's nipple piercing and
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one yet.
whatever. I can't remember what the hell I called it. That's kind of fun. I was just screwing off. Right in the beginning of the video, I put, "This is a stupid video if you want to watch," or something like that. Just to give everybody a warning. You know how you're like, screw it, I'm going to put it out there. Survival. Survival.
All right. Well, we kind of wound down. I know we hadn't quite gone 2 hours, but.
Oh, come on. We got shit to talk about.
You want to talk some more? Hell, we got subjects to talk about. Go ahead.
I don't know. Let's do a vote on who wants to leave. I'm good. I got nothing better to do. You got to work tomorrow.
I will say, I'll bring this up. I was reloading today, some 9mm, and I had this little part fail on my Dillon Square Deal B reloading press. That little plastic part failed. It just where it feeds the primers in.
That's the primer, yeah.
Yeah, but it took 20 years for it to fail.
Wow.
It's nice.
How many tubes do you have?
You can just injection mold another one at work, TR.
What was that, Rick?
How many tubes do you have?
I just ordered some more. This is the one that's actually like in the press when you're reloading. It's not the one that you fill it up with.
It's not the fill up one.
Yeah, it's not the fill up one. It's the one that's actually in the press. And I had a spare, so I fixed it. I had like 100 primers spilling out in the floor and all kind of crap going on when it failed, because I was like, what the hell happened? What's going on? I took it all out and seen what it was. So I sacrificed like maybe not 100, but a good 75 primers because they hit the floor, and I was like, yeah, screw it, whatever. But I had an extra one and replaced it and continued loading, so it wasn't that big a deal. But I'll have to say, if you're going to buy a progressive reloader, buy Dillon.
Yeah, I have the same one you have, the Square B.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
Yeah, I need to get it up and running, though. Mm-hmm. I had it perfect, and then we moved. I probably loaded just a couple, like 2 just to check measurements and shit, and then I had to pack it up and fucking put it in a box to me. I was like, son of a...
Seriously, dude, that Square Deal B, Square B Deal, whatever the hell they call it, it's the weirdest name for a press ever. But
should have just put a number.
Yeah, that thing has literally loaded tens of thousands of rounds. I bought it back in the 90s.
That's awesome.
And my buddy will borrow it, and he'll just, whether I got it set up for 45, and all I got is 45 and 9mm. That's the only 2 setups I have for it. And he'll borrow it and just load up every freaking shell he's got, and then I get it back and, load at my leisure or whatever. But he just loaded up like 3,000 rounds of 9mm with it when I got it back.
You have a 38 and a 357, right?
Yeah.
I got some dies you can borrow.
For the Square Deal B?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I got to get my garage set up. I used to load in the house in a lot of shotgun stuff when I was competing, and every once in a while, something would happen, and I'd have birdshot everywhere, so I'd use the wife's vacuum. I've gone through so many vacuums, so I don't load in the house anymore. It's, it's like things is smoking. I'm like, honey, I gotta get you a new vacuum in the carpet. She's like, God damn it, Rick.
You need a shop vac for the reloading room.
Yeah, it was before I had a shop vac. Yeah, she didn't like that. She likes to remind me about that every once in a while. It's kind of fun though. I taught a class for instructor class for fire department, and I loaded. You had to teach something you knew, so I taught how to load shotgun shells, but I couldn't use Misfits here. Time to go. I couldn't use a gunpowder. They wouldn't let me. They said no, you can't have gunpowder. So I used coffee grinds, and that thing, man, it took forever to get all that shit out of there. I was like, holy crap. I made shotgun shells powdered with powdered coffee.
You should have build them for a new one.
Yeah, start selling them to Starbucks or something.
Yeah. That's funny.
That'll wake you up. Huh? That would be kind of fun if you could maybe change out the load. I'm going to try it, actually. It might be a little while before I get the loader up and running. But instead of running shot, run coffee grounds. So the primer, I think the primer would have enough pressure to blow that shit out. It'd be kind of fun. It'd be like coffee grinds raining on you.
It would smell like they just brewed coffee on the range.
Or use coffee beans, maybe. It's like birdshot. That'd be kind of cool.
Be a very unbalanced round going
My
on.
My brain's going right now. I want to
You're
try.
going a mile a minute, Rick.
Right now. I'll be right back. I gotta go.
Yeah, you better go write that down before you forget.
You know what? I need to because I always forget cool shit.
The shotgun shells.
I'll probably only get 4 views, so it won't really matter anyway.
Well, the shit people load into shotgun shells.
Well, they cost so much now that it just about ain't worth freaking reloading those anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you're loading slugs or buckshot.
Yeah, slugs are expensive.
Yeah.
Do you have a cast thing for slugs?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we used to shoot wad cutters. Did you guys ever shoot them?
Wad cutters?
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about shotgun?
Yeah, no, and well, all around use, yeah. We used them in a couple of
Yeah, 38, 357, yeah.
38, 357, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that rock salt.
Anybody did that anymore? Yeah, rock salt. Yeah, that'll sting your
I got
ass.
shot with a rock salt one time.
No, that'll sting like hell.
Yeah, his ass was stinging. We were on a piece of property we weren't supposed to be on, and I run a little bit faster than he does.
Yeah, I would beg you to put it to his head and just pull the trigger. That hurts like hell.
I'm like, oh shit.
Hmm.
That's funny. Forgot all about that, actually.
It's funny.
Cut shells, yeah, cut shells.
Yeah, they're kind of dangerous. But they are effective.
It's a cheap way to make a slug when you don't got any slugs.
The wax loads, I like those. I've done those before. I don't know if you know about those. You cut the top off of a shotgun shell. Pour
you fill it full of wax?
Yeah, and then mix wax with it, pour it back in, let it dry up. And I did a test on those, and actually they're pretty devastating. They're not accurate for distance, but for up close, very devastating.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because it stays together until it hits, and then it'll bust apart.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you just use candle wax, right?
Yeah, or
I haven't
crayons.
made-
I actually use crayons.
Oh, do you? So it's nice and color. You like red crayons, huh, too?
Yeah,
all the
whatever
names.
color.
Yeah. Fucking TR's rainbow effect over here. Let's see, I'm gonna shoot you with the blue one.
But 20, 30 yards, I mean, they're very effective, no doubt. And you just use the cheapest, field load shotgun shells you can buy. The ones that's like $25 a 100 at Walmart.
Yeah, those white box or the red.
Yeah, depends on what brand, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out Winchester double A's are so much more than a regular box of standard dove load 7.5s or whatever.
Yeah, they're proud of them.
They are.
Yeah,
They do got a good haul.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah, they're proud of them.
Yep.
And that's what everybody wants to use.
Yeah, I don't like it in my 9mm.
Yeah, the Winchester double A's for a shotgun, everybody praises those, but as far as their center fire and rim fire, people hate Winchester when it comes to that. If it's a white box Winchester, that's the one that gets down the most.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah. I'd rather shoot some of that Russian, some wolf, or some other shit.
The OT makes a good shotgun round too. The best ones I used to shoot and like to shoot was the Winchester double A's, but the super handicaps, the gray ones. Those ones are fun because they got a little more powder in them and they're a little faster, so you don't have to lead them as much. Very nice.
All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
Wrapping it up.
Yeah, Rosie's yawning, and I got to work tomorrow, so.
I got to work right now, so I better go.
It's been about 2 hours, so that's close enough. And we're just rambling on anyway. So
yeah,
I'll let you two do an outro, and I will start with Rick. And I just want to say I very much enjoyed the conversation. It was really cool that we talked about economics pretty much the whole time, and the commenters, audience out there was right there on board with us and really giving us a lot of input. That was really cool, and I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. But I'm going to let Rick do an outro right quick.
All right. Thanks again, TR and Rosie. It's a good time. For those of you guys that don't or haven't subscribed to my channel and you want to or would like to, it's free of charge. Click the red button. But hopefully there's some videos on there you'll enjoy. I'm really trying to grow my channel this year, and we'll see what happens. But with that said, you guys have a great night. Be safe. Make sure your smoke detector batteries are changed, and stay safe.
All right, cool. Thanks for coming on, Rick. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Rosie, would you like to do our outro?
If your smoke detector is more than 10 years old, change your damn detector, too, like I did. Right, Rick? Rick's shaking his head. Good job, Rosie. Good job. Thumbs up there. Well, I enjoyed the chat, too. Obviously, it skews in my direction when we're talking about the economics, but I find if economics is discussed in a sort of lively way with a lot of examples and a lot of common sense sort of visual ideas that you can put into your head, that everybody can wrap their head around it. It's far different than a course you might take in economics, Econ 101 in college or something like that. So it's real world econ here. We all have a stake in what goes on in the future, and few people care more about things in life than what happens to the state of their finances and money. Right behind family and their religious beliefs and all that, you certainly have to consider where your money stands in that spectrum, and it's an important thing. So it's something I always enjoy talking about, and love being on with Rick and always TR. And of course, you guys know on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights I do a chat too. It's kind of a freewheeling, free for all, but it's everybody's welcome. Wear your hard hat when you come in, and be prepared to get talked over a lot and everything. So Having said that, thank you, Rick, and thank you, TR, for another great night.
Oh, thank you, Rosie. And I almost owe you a little bit of apology. I was on your Monday night. Was it Monday night chat?
Yeah, I just did a little impromptu, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of bailed out on you. I typed in the internal, but I never got a chance to butt in and say goodbye to everybody, so I just finally just left. And I apologize if I.
That's all good.
But I enjoyed being on there, no doubt.
Yeah, we love having you there.
But thanks for being on the chat tonight, and you were definitely the center of attention because you know more about economics than I do. I'm trying. I'm trying to educate myself and learning as much as I can, but you've been paying attention to it a lot longer than I have, and I appreciate your opinion and your point of view. And it was a great chat. I appreciate it. And with that, I just want to say thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody out there in the audience for coming out and hanging out with us. And we're going to end this. So,
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.